Along the winding path of the Ozark Trail in 1899 sat a town that rarely appeared on any maps. A dusty settlement with a single saloon, a crooked church steeple, and a butcher shop built of old timber, Warren Hale's butchery. Travelers whispered of odd sights inside: meat that twitched, bones that rattled, and cuts that pulsed as if hearts were still beating. Most chalked it up to superstition, but those who stepped inside left quieter than they came. Warren Hale, a broad-shouldered man with storm-gray eyes, ran the place alone. He spoke little, smiled rarely, and carried something heavy in his gaze, as if regret itself lived behind his ribs. Still, he was known for one thing: he never let anyone go hungry, whether they could pay or not. One evening near closing, a weak knock echoed against the butcher shop's door. A thin boy, maybe 16, stood trembling, clothes torn by travel. "I, I'm just passing through," he whispered. "Haven't eaten in days." Warren stared a moment longer than necessary. Then he nodded, unlocking the door. Inside, the boy scrunched his nose. The scent was strong, not entirely pleasant. The cuts behind the glass counter looked wrong. A slab twitched once, then stilled. The boy flinched. Warren set a warm meal before him anyway. "You're safe here," Warren assured, though his voice told a complicated truth. The boy introduced himself: Elias Finch, no family, no money, searching for work. Warren's reply was surprising: "I could use a helper." Elias hesitated, but hunger convinced him. The next morning, Warren led Elias to the cold room, a place he kept locked at all times. Elias froze mid-step. The meat on the hooks shifted, not because of a draft, not a trick of the eye. It breathed. A steak curled slightly, a ribcage flexed, a roast shuddered like a sleeping animal. Warren spoke like this was routine. "You'll clean, pack orders, sweep. You don't cut meat. Ever." Elias nodded, but fear crawled down his spine. "What kind of animals are these?" he asked. Warren's jaw tightened. "The kind people need to eat," he answered. It wasn't really an answer at all. During his first week, Elias learned the rules. 1. Never ask where the meat comes from. 2. Never stay in the cold room alone. 3. Never ignore the knocking at night. Rule 3 disturbed Elias the most. "What if I do ignore it?" he asked. Warren paused, a shadow crossing his features. "Then the knocking will come from the inside." Elias attempted to laugh, thinking it a dark joke. Warren did not smile. It came late on a stormy night. Knock, knock, knock. Elias woke in his cot behind the counter. The cold room door rattled violently. Something moved. Many somethings, slamming flesh against metal hooks. Elias panicked. He remembered Rule 3. He grabbed the broom and banged on the floor twice, hard. The knocking stopped instantly. Silence swallowed the shop. His heart hammered long after the noise faded. He didn't sleep the rest of the night. A traveler wearing a long duster coat entered the shop the next day. A woman with a determined look and a revolver strapped at her hip. "Name's Clara Boone," she said. "I'm hunting a creature that's been terrorizing towns along the trail." Warren stiffened. Clara leaned closer to Elias as Warren rapped her order. "If he's got something strange here," she whispered, "you come find me." Elias swallowed. He wanted to tell her everything: the breathing cuts, the knocking, the shadows behind Warren's eyes. But Warren stepped over, towering. "Your order." Clara took the wrapped meat, nodded once, and left, though not without looking back suspiciously. Elias realized then: fear wasn't just living inside the shop, it was watching it too. That night, Elias found Warren sitting alone in the back room, sleeve rolled up. A long, jagged scar stretched from his wrist to his elbow. pulsing faintly as if something inside still moved. Elias gasped. Warren gripped his arm and yanked the sleeve down. "You're curious," he said. "Curiosity is hunger." "Hunger for what?" "For truth," Warren muttered. "And truth can take a man apart." His voice cracked, not in anger, but memory. "I've done wrong? Very wrong. I'm paying for it every day I wake up." Before Elias could ask more, Warren dismissed him and locked the door. The next evening, Warren left briefly to speak with a local farmer. Elias was alone. He was sweeping when he heard it. "Help! Please!" A faint voice from the cold room. His heart nearly stopped. He pressed his ear to the door. The voice whimpered again, young, afraid. "Is someone in there?" Elias whispered. A meaty thud slammed against the door. The hooks clanged together. Elias backpedaled, trembling. The voice returned, weaker this time. "Don't let him cut." Elias ran outside, gasping for air. The sky above the Ozarks suddenly felt too large, too dark. Warren returned to find Elias pacing outside. "You heard something," Warren stated, not asked. Elias nodded shakily. Warren sighed, shoulders collapsing under invisible weight. "You think I'm a monster," he said softly. "I think there's someone suffering in there," Elias cried. Warren stepped closer, eyes wetter than Elias expected. "If suffering is kept alive, is it mercy or cruelty?" he murmured. "Sometimes pain moving is pain not dead." His words struck Elias with confusing sorrow. Warren placed a heavy hand on his shoulder. "You're not ready for the truth yet. But you must trust me. If I stop, more people will vanish into these woods. And they won't come back as themselves." Elias didn't know what that meant, but he realized Warren wasn't just guarding a butcher shop. He was containing something. The town gathered in the square under a rare blood moon, the air thick with superstition. Clara Boone returned, now with 2 officers. They confronted Warren in front of the crowd. "We've found remains in the forest," she said, "and tracks leading to your shop." Gasps. Accusations. Fear turning into rage. Elias watched as the officers grabbed Warren's arms. Warren didn't fight. "Locking me up won't stop them," he warned. "Tonight is when they're strongest." The officers dragged him away. Then the cold room door, locked from the outside, shook violently. Boom, boom, boom. The crowd turned pale. Something inside wanted out, and Warren Hale, the one who kept the horror fed and controlled, was no longer there to stop it. The crowd screamed as the butcher shop's cold room door buckled outward. Metal warped, hinges screeched, then crash! The door flew off its frame. Blood-soaked chunks, slithering, writhing, poured onto the dirt like living snakes. Ribs scuttled like insects. Slabs of meat dragged themselves through the dust, leaving long red trails. A severed head of cattle, or something resembling one, gnashed its teeth in silent agony. Panic exploded through the square. Clara Boone fired her revolver, but it did nothing. The bullets passed through the flesh, and the meat stitching itself back together again. Elias stood frozen, horror pinning his feet to the ground. The creatures howled without voices, suffering made into shape. And they were heading for the forest, as if they were trying to go home. Warren Hale watched chaos unfold from the barred window of the sheriff's jail. He gripped the rusted metal tight until his knuckles blanched. They were free. Freed because he failed to stop them. The sheriff, a stubborn man named Briggs, refused to unlock the door. "You brought this evil here," he accused. "You'll rot with it." Warren's eyes sparkled with tears born of desperation. "You don't understand," he pleaded. "They're not monsters." Briggs scoffed. Warren whispered, voice trembling. "They're people." The sheriff paused, but not long enough. The earth rumbled like thunder beneath them. The forest had awakened. Clara Boone gathered survivors, forcing them into defensible positions. She reloaded, jaw clenched with confusion and terror. Elias found her, panting. "We need Warren," he urged. "He knows what they are." Clara's expression hardened. "That butcher is more dangerous than whatever crawled out of his shop." "No," Elias insisted, grabbing her wrist. "He's been trying to protect us." Clara hesitated. Doubt cracked her resolve. Then a scream tore through the night. A farmer dragged into the woods by a mass of meat and bone twisting like tentacles. Clara cursed under her breath. "Fine." "We get the butcher." Clara forced Sheriff Briggs to release Warren. Elias handed Warren a cleaver he had retrieved from the shop. Warren stared at the blade, not with fear, but with grief. "There are stories older than this trail," Warren explained as they walked. "Spirits of the hunted, animals killed cruelly, souls torn from bodies who couldn't rest." He swallowed hard. "Long ago I found a hidden grove, where blood never dries. The Ozark Blood Grove, cursed land where the dead cry to live again. I thought I could help them," Warren said. "Give their spirits peace by feeding the hungry, honoring their sacrifice." His voice broke, but the magic twisted. "Their pain wants vengeance now." Elias saw it clearly. Warren wasn't the villain. He was the jailer of their suffering. A scream echoed, and Elias recognized the voice. The local preacher, kindest man in town. They sprinted to the forest's edge as the preacher was dragged underground by a slick, muscular arm of flesh. Without thinking, Elias dove and grabbed his hand. Clara fired wildly, trying to sever the meaty appendage. Warren shouted, "Stop! You'll make it angrier." The ground beneath them pulsed like something breathing beneath the soil. The preacher cried, "Don't let me go." Elias pulled with all his might, but the ground swallowed the preacher whole. Silence followed. Only Elias's shaking sobs filled the night air. Warren placed a hand on his back. "We can still save him," Warren said, "if we reach the grove in time." They found a clearing deep in the woods, a circle of ancient stones, roots stained red, the ground slick with fresh blood. But no animals lay dead. The fleshy creatures were merging, bodies reforming, taking shape. Not beasts. Shapes of people. A woman with half a face recognized Clara and pointed without eyes. A boy missing limbs reached for Elias, pleading. These were missing townsfolk from neighboring settlements. People thought lost to wolves or bandits, but they had been taken by the curse. The preacher now stood among them, alive but weeping, his skin still forming. "Warren," he choked, "help us." Warren gripped his cleaver. "I failed you once. I won't again." Warren stepped into the grove. The ground writhed. The stitched people snarled, torn between pain and fury. Warren didn't swing to kill. He cut precisely, separating pieces of flesh that didn't belong, releasing trapped souls from malformed bodies. Each slice brought screams, then sighs of relief as spirits drifted upward, freed. Elias and Clara defended Warren, pushing back any who attacked in confusion. Clara noticed tears streaming down Warren's face with every strike. He wasn't slaughtering, he was liberating. One by one, tortured figures collapsed into stillness. Peace finally within reach. Just when the battle seemed won, a deeper roar shook the grove. The ground split open. Roots and muscle erupted upward, forming a towering figure of gore, a spirit too large to be contained, the combined agony of countless forgotten kills throughout history. It lunged toward Elias. Warren threw himself in front of him, taking the blow. The monster pierced his abdomen with a bone-like spear. Warren gasped, falling to his knees. The massive creature leaned down, its many mouths whispering, "Join us." Warren looked to Elias, then to the rising dawn, sunlight creeping into the grove. And he smiled. No more. With every ounce of strength he had left, he drove his cleaver into the creature's core, a pulsing heart made of twisted life. It shrieked, shaking the stars. The form disintegrated into ash, carried away by the wind. The grove fell silent, and Warren collapsed. Elias and Clara knelt beside him. "You saved them," Elias whispered. Warren coughed weakly. "Remember, hunger isn't evil, only how we feed it." His gaze softened, peaceful for the first time. "I kept them alive because I couldn't bear more death. But keeping pain alive is not the same as honoring life." Clara squeezed his hand. "You did your best." Warren's eyes drifted upward, watching every spirit he freed float toward a new dawn. A faint smile lingered on his lips. Then he was gone, but not empty, not afraid. Finally, forgiven. Weeks passed. The grove turned green again, pure and unstained. The townsfolk rebuilt, not forgetting, but growing. Elias reopened the butcher shop. This time, only animals raised with dignity, only cuts that rested peacefully. A sign hung on the wall: "Every life deserves respect." Clara visited often, patrolling the trail, guarding against darkness. Sometimes, at night, when the wind howled, Elias imagined he heard Warren's voice, "Keep them safe, son." Elias would nod to the empty room and continue his work, because the greatest honor isn't in what is killed, but in what is allowed to truly live.